Okay, I believe I have gotten the notification that we are streaming live. Welcome everybody to our Facebook Live with Tom from Outdoor Miles. It's our pleasure to have him as a guest. Make sure you stick around, put in some comments, even if it's the location that you're at or the type of RV you own. At the end of this, we'll be given a giveaway away. Great way to start it off. And you know, my name is Jim Hoffman. I'm Vice President here at Wholesale Warranties. As I mentioned, it's our privilege to have Tom from Outdoor Miles joining us. Tom, you want to give us a little bit of background about you?
Sure. My name's Tom Davidock. I'm the owner and creator of Outdoor Miles, which makes it sound much bigger than it really is, but it's an online resource website that I put together about 3 years ago, really with the intention of getting information out to RVers and adventurers like myself to help them, find the information that they need online so they can spend more time doing what they love. I think the reason that I really wanted to start this and get into this type of work was because I gained a lot from the RV and camping community online. When I started off RVing, I didn't know anything. I made a lot of mistakes. I had to learn how to fix a lot of things because I broke a lot of things. And it's just been that whole process that, allowed me to learn what I know now. And this has been an opportunity to give back and share with folks that are either starting out or that are just in it like me and enjoying the lifestyle.
Which is great, and I think that's one of the reasons you're one of our favorite affiliates is the reason that you started it, or it's kind of like we were mentioning before, it was kind of like a passion that you wanted to get out there and start it. It's not your main source of income or anything like that. It's just something that you feel really motivated to get information out to new RVers, experienced RVers, and those that are doing it for the last 20 years. I think the ability to share information, I would kind of piggyback similar to our owner. He noticed that there was a big gap in warranty coverage and how they were offered and things along those lines. And that for you, starting it is just really, really cool. Can you tell us a little bit about the giveaway today?
Yeah. One of the great things about this, this type of work and this, passion type of activity that I get to do through Outdoor Miles is that I get to meet some really great companies that are out there that, either provide services or products or support for the RV community. And one of those is Beach Lane, and they are a small manufacturer of RV related accessories. I think they got their start in like 2017, so they're relatively new, but they kind of hit the market running, and they've been a great partner of ours with Outdoor Miles. And I was talking with Jack, the owner of the company, and I mentioned that I was doing this interview, and he said, "Oh, hey, why don't we offer up some a product or a giveaway that we can provide to one of the listeners of this?" So they have, and we'll be talking a little bit about this later, but they make some really great fans that you can use for your refrigerator in your RV, either to help circulate the air inside the RV or help it run more efficiently. So that's an option. Or they also recently came out with a really cool RV leveling system, which is a little device that you install in your travel trailer, motorhome, fifth wheel, and then you have an app on your phone. So as you're backing it in, you can get it perfectly level, so you don't have to get in and out and in and out and in and out with a hand level. So they agreed to let the winner choose the product that they want. So we will, select the winner, and then we can work with them to find out what they'd like and would be able to use for their RVing.
It is so crazy to think how far we've come, whether it be with technology, different ideas. The idea of the leveling system that you just mentioned is just like, of course, that is a product that everybody would want, right? But X amount of time, not that many people were like, oh, I should probably go out and create something that helps with this process.
Yeah.
I can remember back when I was a kid camping, and I don't know, 72, 76 Volkswagen Adventure Wagon with my family. And we just, whenever you parked it, it was what it was. There was no attempt to level it out.
You roll off the bed.
Yeah.
Water doesn't try.
You're rolling this way. The water goes uphill, kind of like one of those mystery houses. So it's so awesome how far it's come. So I was going to ask if you're an RVer. Obviously, unless it's a incredible background, I am kind of in the mindset that you're out and about as we speak.
Yeah, I am right now. I mean, you can tell a little bit behind me. Here's my RV here, but I'm up in Lake George right now. I'm taking a little vacation. Jim, as you mentioned, I work full time, so I try and get out as much as I can. Camp pretty much every weekend and take a lot of long trips during the year. But it's this is one of my favorite places to come. Upstate New York, nice and quiet, and a little bit rainy this year, but other than that, it's been a great experience.
Yeah, and we're gonna touch on the weather, I think, here in a little bit.
Yeah,
because I do think that you're on the East Coast, I'm on the West over in California, and basically not only those two states, but everything in the middle is having something, right? And I think we'll go into that in a little bit. But thus far, whether it's on this camping journey or some relatively in the past, what are some of the either challenges that you've seen or like a big win for you while you've kind of been out and about exploring?
Well, I'm laughing a little bit now because this season started off with, quite interestingly. So I have two travel trailers. I have a larger one that's newer, 2019, I believe. And then the first travel trailer that I bought was a much smaller, more mobile unit that I really like to take around because it's just easier to tow. And so when I pulled it out of storage this year, there was a leak in the back corner of it. And I kind of knew in the back of my mind that eventually I was going to have to do some work there, pulled it out of storage, and the whole back corner of the roof collapsed. So I spent, a good, 2 weekends rebuilding the whole backside of an RV. Never done it before, and I hope I never have to do it again. So that was very interesting, and I got it all ready for our first trip down to Pennsylvania, going to Gettysburg for a long week. And on the way down, about halfway there, I blew the engine in my truck. So I had to pull over, get a rental truck, tow the camper back to New York, and kind of hit the reset button on the camping season. But we're back up and running, all's good. And but it was definitely a start to remember for the camping season.
Which is crazy. I mean, I don't know what percentage, but I would say there's probably a handful of RVers that if they went through that similar experience, they would be like, yep, I'm done for right now. I'm taking a longer break. Like that's a lot to overcome.
Yeah. I was motivated. So I just got it done. And, and it's kind of like one of those things that you kind of learn along the way. A lot of RVers, they're problem solvers. And, you have your home on wheels, and, your company knows it better than anybody else that things are going to go wrong at some point. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So, proper maintenance is really good, but also just being prepared for the unknown. On the RV that I, had the problems with, it was old enough that I felt comfortable. Like if I go and I try and rebuild, I make a mistake, it's okay. But, newer RVs, like if you maintain them, they last really, really long. But things will break, and, having that peace of mind or assurance that you have a plan in place is, I think, a good thing that all RVers, could have and should have.
Yeah, I think we do kind of have an internal motto, like it's not if, it's when. And if you are fortunate enough to have an if, consider it a success, right? It's there, especially, within the last, 3 to 5 years, and COVID really kind of put a curveball in this too. The manufacturers are cramming so much stuff into some of the new ones, and you're like, yeah, things are going to break, because if you've seen the, plumbing in the wires, it's like a game of Mousetrap. I'm kind of dating myself from my era, but like Mousetrap was a very difficult game to get that little mouse through all the different obstacles, and that's kind of where that is. And obviously, I think the pandemic kind of put the RV world, well, one, it put us under a microscope, right? There, for a hot minute, there wasn't anything anywhere that you can find. And I think actually for the first time, the value of RVs actually increased, which was mind-blowing to a lot of us in the industry. And so where I'm going with that is the last couple of years has been kind of nutty. RV in that sector is no exception, nothing really different. You mentioned, or we discussed, weather, whether that be flooding or extreme heat. In your opinion, how would you say the RV community is either handling or adjusting, or what have you been hearing or seeing out there?
Well, I think it's, if you turn on the news and, you don't have to watch very long to kind of see the next major weather event that's happening somewhere in the country. And RVers are very adaptable. It's you're going to deal with, you're out camping. So if it's raining or it's sunny or stormy, you're going to try and make the most of it. And in RVs, for the most part, they function very, very well during normal weather conditions. You have a rainy season or it's hot and it's dry, it's fine. It's when you get into those extremes that I think RVers kind of have to figure out, well, how do I shift focus here and deal with this? One big thing that I know a lot of people that are either going to watching this right now or will watch it in the future are probably dealing with extreme heat. The month of June was the hottest June ever recorded on record in the United States, and maybe even worldwide. But those hot temperatures make it really difficult for things like RVs to provide a comfortable living area for campers. So if you go on to the Facebook groups online, you'll see a lot of conversations about, how do I add a second air conditioner, or do I get a portable air conditioner? Or what are some things that I can do, for air conditioning and for dealing with the heat. One thing that I always tell people when I'm interacting with them online is, start with the basics first. You have an air conditioner, or if you have an air conditioner in your RV, have you maintained it? Did you clean the coils? Is it functioning at peak performance? Have you just taken out the filters and vacuumed them off or washed them off? Because little things like that can take a struggling air conditioner and make it function much better and help you get through a difficult situation. So there's just little things that we can do as RVers to make the most out of situations like that.
And I'm going to assume that, those not tricks, but that kind of advice or that kind of experience is available on your website, which is just outdoormiles.com. Yeah, because I think, one of the things, especially when it comes to weather, if something's going to flood, you usually have a little bit of a heads up, right? And I'll speak to kind of the West Coast over here. I think Phoenix is on its 20th or 21 days in a row of 110 or more, right? And if you think about the RVer that is like, oh, we're going to go to Arizona for the warm weather, sure, but 110 for that duration of time, you can get a second air conditioner. But I also think, just to your point, like some of those tips or some of those hints or some of those even reminders, right, is incredibly useful, during that time, because, doing some of those self-maintenance or self-care is a lot less expensive than, okay, now my AC broke and now what, right? And I think that those are really good things. I do want to, especially because part of the giveaway is a fan, which can can help in that scenario, and the other is a leveling tool. And I really want, people who are watching right now to leave a comment if you can, or ask a question, because we do want to do a Q&A at the end. Or worst comes to worst, leave the state that you're watching from, say hi from a different state, or maybe even tell us what type of rig you have, just to get a little bit of interaction there. I think the other thing, specifically over the last 12 months, I think we just hit the 1-year mark where, for the most part, and I'll speak to the prices in California, I think at the beginning of July of 22, we woke up and gas almost overnight was at $5 a gallon, right? And then the trickle down effect from that, a loaf of bread was all of a sudden X amount of dollars more. Repairs on an RV, that hourly rate of a technician or the parts, all those things. So we've been living in a time for the last 12 months where your fuel prices are aggressively high, depending on where you're at for the most part. And we've had record inflation over the last 12, while maybe coming down a little, still little sting, right? There's still a sting associated with that. How are you seeing RVers react to some of those changes in the economy over the last 12 months?
Yeah, and that's a really good question, because that's something that I wondered, especially as you kind of, think about where are things going. We've been living in the news cycle of the coming recession. When's it coming? It's coming. Are we in it? Is it going to be next quarter, the following quarter? So there's always that economic fear of where we are in terms of our economy and how do we plan for that. But then among those things, you're also dealing with, like you mentioned, inflation. The cost of everything's a little bit more. And then you also have things like shrinkflation, where the products that you're buying are a little bit smaller, so you're purchasing them more often. So there's definitely a strain that I think is put on, every American, and the RVers are no different from feeling it. So I did a poll, I guess it was maybe about a year ago, asking how people are going to adjust their camping styles because of the economy and rising gas prices and all of the unknowns. And surprisingly, the results said, RVers are going to camp just as much as they have camped in the past, but they're going to adjust their camping style a little bit. So rather than taking that big cross-country trip, they may stay closer to home. And then rather than taking, maybe 3 or 4 long weekend trips, they're going to pack that all into a long 2-week trip, so they can, reduce their travel expense by 2/3. So I think RVers are camping just as frequently as they have been. And in the past couple of years, that's been really high compared to the past, decade or two. But they're just adjusting their styles of camping a little bit. And thankfully, gas prices, they're high, but they aren't as high as what was predicted, about a year and a half ago, when there was fears that we're going to get to the $6, $7, $8 a mark per gallon. Well, you're in California, so I shouldn't say that, but I mean,
it's customary, right? We chose to live here to a degree, so it is what it is.
Yeah. You're used to the higher prices.
We're used to that. We did have 2 questions that came in. I want to actually get to them now, because it was speaking about something. One of them was, any suggestions on how to help filter air when bad smoke and allergens? And then I'm gonna piggy this one back in. How is smoke affecting RVing in the Great Lakes area? Which you may or may not know, but I figured I'd get those 2 out there. Out there now, because those are pretty specific. Like I could use a little bit of feedback on those 2 scenarios right now.
Yeah, no, they're great. It's a great topic and a very timely topic. It's something that I personally wasn't ready for this current year, but then one day I woke up and like, it's a little hazy outside. What's going on? I opened up the news, and the smoke from the Canadian wildfires were, blanketing the Northeast. And then shortly afterwards, it's kind of spread to the Midwest, and it keeps coming in waves, and it creates some pretty unhealthy living conditions or outdoor air conditions. So if you watch the news says, well, stay indoors. limit your time outside, recycle your air through your air conditioner. In an RV, it's a little challenging. And although we do have air conditioning, the filters in there are normally just, thin screen filters that can get dust and pollen out, but it doesn't really do a good job at filtering smoke. So two things you can do in your RV. One is you can upgrade your filters for your air conditioner. And even if you just do it for, situations like this, if you go to Amazon or any camping store, you can buy multi-layered filters, and they're designed for different units that you can swap out your filters in your air conditioning that will do a much better job at filtering the smoke. And then what may be actually the best option is to just go out and purchase a home style plug-in air filter. And one of the great things about an RV is that they're relatively small. So if you run an air filter that's capable of removing smoke from the air, you'll recycle your air in your cabin dozens of times per hour, and it makes the indoor living in your RV during these situations much more bearable. And then the other guidelines, just limit your time outside when the smoke is the worst. And for me, that's always been a good time to go explore like a local museum or hit up a movie, just to kind of get out of the camper, so you don't get that camper fever when you're stuck inside. But yeah, that's been a problem that I'd never thought about before, and I'm sure a lot of campers haven't thought about before. But there are things you can do to kind of reduce the impact of it a little bit.
And I think that is such an important question and response, right? Because whether you're watching live right now or maybe you catch it on YouTube later on, the idea of an air filter, even inside the RV in normal conditions, it's never really crossed my mind, but I was like, wow, that would be good just to have, whether you're using it or not. But it's a nice to have in the RV. It doesn't draw a lot of power, and
Right.
It can really be beneficial, right? And thinking about because they're mostly, I think, Canadian fires right now that are coming down, and anything that can be done to try to eliminate that from the inside, from whether you're sleeping, whether you're just hanging out, and then that's a really obviously that's a good pull on the go indoors for a little bit, check out the local town maybe, but we appreciate that feedback, so keep those
Sure.
questions coming. Put them in there. I'm receiving a text, so you might see my eyes flutter back and forth.
No problem.
I promise I'm paying attention. I'm listening and I'm focusing on you, but I want to make sure that, when we do get questions, sometimes if we wait till the very end, they may not be relevant or they may be asked and answered. And I think it's important for the audience to be like, I need to know about the Great Lakes right now, or I need to know about air filter and smoke.
Yeah.
How, in your opinion, I was going to talk about we love to see, things happening this year. The increase in availability for mobile mechanics, is that something that, we always, at Wholesale, we always thought that was a vital part. And that mostly came from the full-timers, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, we would get the hard roadblock that, hey, I'm a full-timer, I can't bring it into the repair facility. And so probably about 5-6 years back, we started kind of turning the wheels and ensuring that mobile mechanics were not only available for full-timers, but anybody, certain conditions and what have you. But what has been your experience, or what have you been hearing out kind of in the marketplace as it pertains to mobile mechanics?
Yeah, I think, a few years ago, if you talk with anybody that was experiencing an RV mechanical issue and they needed repair, it was hard. I mean, they were getting told that, well, if you bring it into the RV dealership, it's going to be about 3 or 4 months until we can get to it. And, mobile mechanics were just pushed to the limit, if there even were any. But I think the good thing that we see, in everything in life, is when you have a problem or a lack of something, typically the market responds and will, make the changes necessary to get the issue fixed. And I think with mobile mechanics, we're starting to see that upward trend, that there's more availability of mechanics, at least up in the Northeast. I know that there's been a lot more advertisements for services that are out there. I actually used a mobile mechanic this past spring when I was fixing my RV. I needed to get the brakes done as well, and I was like, I'm not going to have time to do this. So I reached out to a local Don from Ulster RV. He's fantastic. Came out to my driveway, got my brakes done when I was at work, came back, everything was good. Because it's not like a car. Like when you have a car, you take it into a local mechanic, you take it into a dealership, you drop it off in a parking lot, you wait till you get a call, you go pick it up. With an RV, it's a big unit to move, and there's not enough services out there to kind of allow you to take it in on the same day. But mobile mechanics have been a really great resource, and there's a lot of RVers that are out there that don't even know that a mobile mechanic is an option. But you can call up a qualified mobile mechanic. They'll come out to your site, to your campsite, to your home, alongside the road if you're stuck down somewhere, and they'll make the repairs right then and there if they're able to.
Yeah, I think for at least what we've seen, right, on the extended warranty side, the administrators are a lot more open to having a mobile mechanic come out. A couple of years back, it was, well, it's got to kind of check some boxes, right? But I think over time, what's kind of been neat to watch is your mobile mechanic, from an administrator's point of view, is oftentimes like a little less expensive, if you will, because you're not, at a regular RV repair facility, there's a lot of overhead that goes into that RV repair facility, right? The brick and mortar and just the overhead and everything along those lines. And so the policies that we offer that permit mobile mechanics really have just narrowed it all the way down to just needing a business license that shows that you are a mechanic of RVs, which for the most part is readily available, and it's not difficult to get. And so we've seen, just on our repairs, which are obviously in the thousands each year, we've seen a dramatic increase, especially during the pandemic, of mobile mechanics coming out. And some of that, to your point, had to do with supply and demand, where you would call a dealer or the dealer, and they're like, we got a 3-month backlog before we can even look at your rig. And people are like, well, that's great, but I'm in Georgia and I live in Texas and I'm trying to get back. So that, those solutions weren't exactly helping the RVers when they needed help. Again, just as a reminder, make sure to leave a question if you can, or state that you're watching from. And so we'll kind of transition into our last topic, and it's the demographic of the RVer from 19 to 23 has just gone through different cycles, right? And as I mentioned, early in the pandemic, it became incredibly popular. We, on our side, saw a lot of people get in, hang out for about 6 months, and then get out, because there's a lot that goes into it. The first thing that I always think about with the RV community is their willingness, not only to your point earlier, to solve problems, but their feeling of like camaraderie and working with individuals. And although my experience was mostly in camping, if you needed a supplier, if you needed something, it wasn't uncommon to go to the next site over and ask for help with whatever it may be. But I know with the increase of work from home or work remotely, where you so choose, also brought a new kind of demographic into that. And so I'm kind of curious on what you're seeing or hearing out there as far as the demographic goes, for your quote unquote typical RVer.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do when I'm camping is just to meet new people and talk with people, and it's amazing the number of full-time RVers that I run into on almost every trip, and it's been increasing time after time after time, or season after season, the number of people that are, you know, trying out the lifestyle. And, you know, the thing about like a full-time RVer is they're not committing for the rest of their life. They may be full-time RVing for a year or 2 years. And, you know, it's a very attractive idea to a lot of people, and especially young families that want to, you know, go explore the country. And they, you know, prior to COVID, there may not have been many options where you can work remotely and do that. And I think what we've been seeing, you know, over the past few years is that there's a lot of remote work opportunities, and people are taking advantage of those and doing things that they never thought they would be able to do before. And full-time RVing is one of those. You know, there are challenges. You know, working from an RV means that, you know, here I'm sitting out on a table out in beautiful Lake George, but I don't have an office in my RV. You know, I'm also not full-timing right now. But like internet connectivity, you know, that was probably one of the biggest things, because if you were working remotely, you need to have a reliable internet connection. And
Right.
a lot of campgrounds, they're located away from, you know, the city centers, and, you know, cell phone reception might be spotty. It may not be good enough for a Zoom call. So that was kind of a challenge. You know, but things are changing in that field too. One of the coolest things that I've seen since I've started doing this was the emergence of Starlink, which is a satellite internet-based service that is Elon Musk, who I'm sure everybody has heard about, you know, founded that company. And, you know, when it first started and it rolled out a couple of years ago, it was kind of hit or miss, and, you know, it wasn't available everywhere. You had to have a set location. But over the past year, they rolled out the RV plan, where you can now travel the country and use your satellite internet service. They're also putting up a lot more satellites. I think about a year ago, they may have had about 2,000 satellites up in the sky. As of now, they're around 4,400 satellites, and they're planned to, in the next few years, have up to 12,000 satellites, with the potential to go up over like 40,000 satellites. So if you build that out and think about where that could be, just the options and the connectivity services that you're going to need is going to get so much better over time. And it's also, you know, very doable and good now. You just got to plan a little bit before you jump on it.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things that hindered quite a few people back in 20, or maybe even early 21, is, yeah, you could get service, but your service was very weak, right? It was the signal was just dropping, or it couldn't handle the bandwidth for whatever type of work that you were doing. But back to your point, like the economy responds, you know, if there's demand, supply will get there, and it'll continue to improve until, you know, until the participants are good with it. I was going to ask on, there was another part on the work from home, but I seem to have split my mind. So
No problem.
But I do have 2 questions. So I want to make sure that I'm a fan of when someone asks a question, if there's a decent break in our conversation, I like to ask during instead of just waiting till the end, because I don't know if that person again dropped off, but I think it's a good way to interact.
Let's do it.
And this is not up my alley, so I'm going to put a lot of the onus on you, Tom.
We'll try.
No pressure. We're all counting on you. Do you recommend getting a weather radio? We are going through from Mass to Tennessee through the Carolinas. I'm concerned about weather.
You know, I think a weather radio, if you're going to be traveling in an area where there's a potential that you'll need it, you know, especially if you're going down South Carolina and you may be going down during like hurricane season where power outages may happen or cell phone towers may be down. It's not a bad thing to have. And I mean, you can get a weather radio for, you know, $20 off of Amazon. If, you know, it might not be the highest end radio, but you'll have access to information that you can't get if your phone's not working or if it's not charged. So yeah, I think that's a really good idea. And I say that not owning one myself, but now that I'm thinking about
Right.
it, you know, the moment that you think about needing one is probably when you're in a situation where you need one and don't have one. So being prepared is the, Boy Scout motto, and also an RVers motto.
Right.
So yeah, good idea, and thanks for sharing that thought.
Totally. I was thinking, I've been through one hurricane on a birthday over a decade ago in Jamaica, and I would have probably paid quite a bit of money to have some type of news source that was relevant.
Right. I mean, it's the same thing. Like,
4. It's like,
yeah. It's like if you go to, most people go and they shop for a generator when they're in the middle of a hurricane and the power's out, or they'll go get a pump, some pump when
right.
flooding's an issue. So, and then you can't find any of that stuff. So, being prepared and like this commenter is, I think, is a really good idea.
Okay. This one actually is for, I think for me, does Wholesale Warranties have a listing of recommended mobile mechanics? We do have a website that is rvrepairdirect.com, which shows just about any mechanic that has accepted our policy, I think over the course of the last 1 to 3 years. So there should be some mobile mechanics on there. For the policies that we offer, it's literally just have a taxable ID number that shows you're in the business of being a mechanic, and that qualifies as a mobile mechanic. The days of going to your neighbor at a campground saying, "Hey, can you fix this?" and them doing it, those are unfortunately not permitted. But the admin just wants to make sure that you have a valid business license. Okay, and so actually, I do have our winner. Sorry if my hair got in the way there. I know sometimes it just kind of goes wherever at once. Our giveaway winner is going to be Krista de Gras Robert. I like the full name there. So congratulations, Krista.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Tom will be in contact with you. Tom, again, man, I think it's a pleasure. I love chatting with you. I think, I was glancing at your website, and the motto of life is better on the road. And I think piggyback with the Boy Scout motto of always being prepared. Being a kid growing up, driving from San Francisco to Minnesota and basically everywhere in between, and doing my best to get myself and my family out on the road. I can speak for many. I really appreciate what you do, right? I can tell in this conversation the passion you have for RVing, and I think that comes out on your website and your desire to kind of share that information and just inform RVers of all durations, right? Whether you've been doing it for a day or you've been doing it for 10 years. There's all these little things that pop up, and it's better to hear about them, in my opinion, from someone who's already gone through them or someone that's prepared for them, versus, oh my gosh, I could have really used a weather radio while going through the Carolinas during hurricane season. Like that, yes, I would spend $20 or $30 to get something like that. So, I think it's a testament to who you are and how much you enjoy it, just trying to get this information out to as many people who are receptive as possible.
Well, thank you. I mean, my favorite part of doing this work is meeting new people and meeting businesses that, provide services and resources to the RV community. And then just talking with other, fellow RVers, because I learn more than I share. And that's only possible through the website. So I thank all the people that comment on, the website articles or that interact with me on a Facebook group or post. I gain more than I'm able to give. So thank you. And it's been great talking with you. I think, it's been almost a year since we had a live event with Wholesale Warranties. So maybe next July, the 19th, we'll call it. You do it again.
That's perfect. I'll try to be remote in the wilderness as well, probably using some type of internet service. And let's start planning it now.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And then I will I guess Stacy, who might be on somewhere, she can get the contact information for the winner, and then I'll coordinate with them to, have them select what they want and get it shipped out to them.
Awesome. Will you send me an email on which one she selects? I'm really interested to see which one, because I was like, those are two kind of really tough choices.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Awesome, Tom. I hope you and anybody and everybody that's on, I hope you guys have a great day and enjoy the road ahead.
Okay. All right. Enjoy your summer.
Take care. Everybody.